Hi everyone, my name is TJ Forsyth and I'm a business solutions executive here at Ironsides Technology. I put this video together today to discuss how Ironsides and our core product, APT, which stands for Automated Production Tracking, helps support print and mail organizations that currently have in-plant operations. Ironsides has a ton of experience with in-plants, and in fact, about 20% of our customer base are actually in plants that print, mail, and distribute documents on behalf of their own organization. These range across financial services organizations, banks, hospitals, healthcare organizations, as well as schools, universities, and also the government. Through our experience, we often see very, very similar problems across all of our customers when we first start our engagement. So, whether it be our existing customers or whether it be prospects that we've talked to, there's quite a bit of a commonality between the operational problems that occur inside of these implants. First and foremost, often there's a lack of synergy between IT, print, and mailing departments. We see that many times these organizations may report into different levels of the organization. They may be spread out across a particular facility, so the print department may be on a different floor from the mailing department. But at the end of the day, it's very important that there's synergy between these departments because they have to get the documents out appropriately and on time. Many times we see that there's a lack of overall production visibility to work in process between these departments. So the insertion group or the bindery group doesn't understand what's going on in the print department, so on and so forth. We also see a ton of manual paperwork and manual processes that are used to track work on a day-to-day basis and provide updates. And many times this paperwork is accumulated at the end of the day. It goes to a resource, and then it's manually input into an Access database or maybe manually inputted into the mainframe. But it's a very manual process for getting updates from the production floor. We also see an inability to validate work in process. So really, what that means is your compliance in your piece level tracking process, where they're not closed loop manufacturing, they're not leveraging barcodes and camera technology to make sure that these documents are in compliance. And these are highly secure documents, whether it be checks, whether it be statements, invoices, financial services related documents, whatever it may be. We actually see a lot of implants that don't have processes in place to make sure that everything's accounted for. Coupled with the manual paperwork, we also see manual QC, count verification, production updates, which thus result in an inability to provide internal and external reporting on real-time work in process as well as production history. Many times implants constantly have to go through the RFP process every couple years, and they really struggle with having the production metrics around productivity and employees, device, and shifts. So they really don't have a good way to measure themselves. And many times, we probably see the most is that implants have homegrown systems and are still running off the mainframe. So they really struggle and don't have the technology to be able to create barcodes, control files for production. Many times when you engage internal IT teams, especially around the mainframe, there's a backlog of projects, and most of those times, revenue generating projects are kind of brought to the top of the line. So it's not to say that Ironsides technology can help you provide and put barcodes on documents and other things, but we do have some very strategic partners that we pull into opportunities to help complete the total solution for our customers. So really what we recommend when we talk to implants is really going through and assess your operation. So what that means is understanding the business implications and the budget that you have to introduce this efficiency into your operation. We generally get on site. We ask to meet with various stakeholders, whether that be business, operations management, and even down to the operator level, to really gain an understanding of your existing workflow. We like to map out software and hardware touch points understanding where your documents come from, who touches them, how they move through the facility. All while doing that, we create a hardware and software inventory that's used inside of your production lifecycle. We walk the work through the manufacturing process so we understand what tracking and reporting methodologies you have, if any. And at the end of the day, we always have the conversation of what are the business pain points, what are the management pain points, and what are the operator pain points. So we take this all into consideration. We take a look at how you're doing things, and then we come back to you with a recommendation. And what I'm going to do now is really talk about an existing bank implant that we've done that we've done business with and is an existing customer. I'm going to talk through some of the problems that they have. And then I'm going to talk through what we did, and then I'm going to talk through what the results and benefits were. So, this particular implant was a bank, major bank, publicly traded bank, that just went through an acquisition. So, they were about to get hit with a ton of increased volume due to additional bank acquisition. They were in the process of building out their digital print facility. So they were purchasing an inkjet to help increase their print capacity. So they were going to be have the latest and greatest print technology, but one of the challenges they had is they needed to make sure that all the material was accounted for, and they needed to have similar efficiencies in the insertion and hand fulfillment process, for which they didn't have capital expenditure for buying new equipment. They had a lack of real-time production visibility that I talked to previously, coupled with lack of piece level tracking. I mentioned that the CapEx was tied to inkjet, so they really needed to leverage their existing post-print equipment. Multiple vendor shops, so they were doing insertion, they were doing pressure sealing, they were doing hand fulfillment work, all across different vendors. They had no operational reporting and metrics to be able to share back to their business to help justify their existence. And naturally, when you're in the banking world and you talk about statements, you deal with month end and tight turnaround SLAs for monthly and quarterly business. So they came to us and said, can you come in? Can you take a look at how we're doing things? Um, we're about to buy an inkjet press. I want you to walk through the total workflow. I want you to come back to me with a recommendation. So we said, okay. One of the challenges you have first and foremost is you're taking work directly down from the mainframe. So you don't have a way to essentially let that work show up on your front door and use some of the great industry tools out there, whether it be composition or document reengineering tools, to be able to barcode those documents, index those documents to create your production efficiency. So we actually pulled in a partner of ours. It's actually Crawford Technology to solve the problem of document reengineering. So that was one of our first recommendations, and we said, okay, we're going to make you uh, put all your documents through the Crawford Technology tool. You're gonna index the documents, you're gonna barcode them in a standard way, and you're gonna send control files into production. From there, we're going to connect to all your digital print devices. So this particular customer had some Xerox and some Canon equipment for which we used our industry standard connectors to be able to tie into those digital printers and get real-time activity of what's going on at that print at any time. We also said, okay, inside insertion and pressure seal, in the insertion environment, you have a pseudo tracking system. You have a camera on the input um, of your inserter, but you're not file based, right? So you really don't have true piece level tracking to make sure that all your pieces are accounted for. So we recommended putting cameras on the back end of those inserters. From a pressure seal standpoint, they had no technology there. So we put camera technology inside the pressure seal environment, and we said for anything being processed by hand fulfillment, we're going to deploy some hand scanners that are going to make sure that any work processed by hand is going to have the appropriate level of tracking and reprint automation with it. So that was the configuration that we moved forward. So again, files came down from the mainframe. They hit a document reengineering tool. The document engineering tool barcoded and created production efficiency and control files. Ironsides then leveraged our connectors into the digital print environment and also installed camera technology, which at the end of the day, what it provided the customer is production efficiency and also any piece of equipment for which a job or an individual piece would go through was now being tracked. So they now had real-time visibility to all their jobs, machine, and department status. So this particular customer had a print room that was on a total different location than the insertion room. That was all now rolled up into a central command and control dashboard. They now had 100% closed loop tracking with detailed audit trail of their work. So they knew everything that was processing through the shop for any damages, missing, etc. Those pieces were pulled within a reprint file and automated. We leveraged all their post-print equipment, so we did not bring forward a recommendation to buy new pieces of equipment from a post-print standpoint. They now had detailed operational metrics to help manage their business and help justify themselves when they do go through that RFP process, which is so familiar to anybody that's in the implant space. There was minimal IT involvement to support these applications. So we took the work that came out of the mainframe, we allowed the mainframe to continue to send work into production as they were, except we put a document engineering tool in the middle of that prior to hitting the production press to create that production efficiency. So we didn't tie up any resources from an IT standpoint. It was a scalable solution for rapid deployment to new equipment and applications. So as they onboard additional applications, it's very easy. It's a plug and play model. And we also gave them an open system for third-party data sharing. So one of the challenges they had is, when jobs were complete, they needed to provide statuses back upstream to trigger the billing process. This was a manual process in the past. We helped them totally change the way that they were doing that. So a lot of efficiency came out of this, and I've actually told this story quite a bit down at the Inkjet Summit, and it really hit home with many people in the implant market. And I've had quite a few people, tug on my shirt and say, "Hey, can you come down and give me one of these operational assessments?" We're very, very happy to do it. So we understand that there's implants in all sorts of different markets, but at the end of the day, you're printing documents, you have a service level agreement to get those documents out, and you have to make those documents be distributed in good order. So it's imperative that you have a solution like this, no matter what the industry is. So a lot of questions come up of how easy is an implementation like APT? Well, again, the first step is to produce a control file. So this is a file that, as a document is composed or indexes, provides metadata. This is industry standard for anybody that's doing any level of tracking. So we sit down with you, we work with you, we say, what information do you have? What information do you want included? What information do you want reportable? And we come up with a common specification. That's a very, very low lift from a effort standpoint. From there, we go through the barcoding process. So especially in transactional and healthcare, very, very standard to barcode documents. In universities and schools, it's more around the transactional side of the documents versus commercial print. But we go through the process of educating you how to barcode your documents appropriately. From there, we either integrate or install cameras or establish our connectors to where they need to go. So whether it's connecting to digital print devices, maybe it's integrating with existing cameras, maybe it's putting new cameras on your pieces of equipment. We work in all types of environments. So we go through that process of, okay, first it's producing the control file, then it's how do you get the data. Then how do you receive the data, right? We also deploy hand scanners for hand fulfillment. So as you know, anything that's touched by a hand, risk immediately goes through the roof. So we feel as though when you are doing transactional or mission critical documents through hand fulfillment, employees, you should have scanning mechanisms to ensure you have the same level of traceability for those particular documents. So that's what we did for a high level banking organization, again, that was publicly traded. I'm briefly going to show you really what the central command and control dashboard looks like. I have many videos that highlight different functionality, but again, you can see within this video you have a complete view of all your pieces of equipment, who's running that equipment, what job is at that piece of equipment, lots of customizable views here. Also within the same dashboard, you get a full service level agreement monitor, or SLA monitor, we like to call it, that shows you all the jobs inside the shop. and where they're running versus their service level agreement. So you can see here quite a bit of red. Not good. That means that these particular jobs are past due. Somebody needs to make their proper adjustments to get themselves back on schedule. So as jobs uh, are completed, they fall off this job board, and as jobs are submitted into the system, they are added to the job board. So it's very dynamic and it's all real time. At the same time, you have Job Explorer functionality, which is custom reporting, where you can essentially search by any criteria that makes sense to you. So whether it's real time or historical information, you can start to gather a lot of the data that you have around the production of your system. And we also have a plethora of reports, about 250 reports now that joggle between work in process, SLA, and productivity to make sure you have tools to not only measure your business from a day-to-day perspective, but you also have the metrics to measure your business from a historical perspective, measuring your employees, measuring your operators, measuring shifts. Maybe you have multiple plants. You don't see that too often in the implant market. But at the end of the day, you have a central control system to help manage your operation. This is very, very important. So, again, if anybody in the implant market sees this and some of the challenges that I discussed are hitting home with you, let's talk. We also have a lot of references that are very, 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 very generous in terms of opening up what they did with Ironsides, because we absolutely delivered a ton of value to their organization. So I thank you very much for letting me walk through this. Again, anybody in the implant market that wants to have a conversation, my email is tj.forsythe, that's FORSYTHE, at Ironsides, IRONSIDESTECH.com. So that's tj.forsythe at ironsidestech.com. And I thank you very much.